After years of being ignored, my family once again disregarded my birthday. A week later, I received an invitation to a baby shower for my brother at the cabin I had helped finance. Instead of apologies, they asked me for money. I sent them a penny with a clear message. Then I disappeared, and with my departure, access to the joint account also vanished. They forgot my birthday. Again, not a message, not a call. Not even that quick post from my mother on social media with heart emojis and a picture of me from when I was a child. Nothing. Not even the typical group gift that my sister loves to organize, like the one she puts together even for National Donut Day. Just silence. I'm not 12 years old. I don't need cake or balloons. But I do have 3 children who took the time to make me handmade cards. The little boy even asked me if his grandfather was coming. I lied to him. I told him I was busy with work. But she wasn't. She simply forgot. A week later, I was on the porch drinking coffee when I got a group message from my sister, all excited, full of exclamation marks. Hello family. Welcome party for Alvaro and Clara's baby next weekend. It'll be at the cabin. I'm super excited. Please send $200 via Venmo for catering before Friday. Thank you. The cabin. My cabin. Or well, at least a part. Maybe just a quarter now, after all the financial mess we made when my brother couldn't get a loan on his own. It was supposed to be a shared property, but I was the one who put down the down payment, hired the builder, bought the furniture, installed the deck with my own tools, and even refinanced my car to close the deal. 6 months ago, they threw an opening party there. I wasn't invited then either. They said it was a last-minute thing. And now the place was going to be used for a party in honor of my brother's baby. The same brother who once called me obsessive because I asked him to return the money for the fence he asked me to cover. Nobody consulted me about anything, not even an invitation, just a casual request for money. To them, that's what I am now, an ATM that requires no conversation. I stared at that message for a long time. I wasn't upset, nor was I hurt. I was simply exhausted. I had nothing left to give them. That night, I opened the app and sent my sister a penny, along with a message. This is all I have left for you. After that, I blocked all the numbers. My mother's, my father's, my sister's, my brother's. Even the family group chat. Ready? My wife raised an eyebrow when I told her. I think she'd been waiting for me to do this for years, but she didn't want to pressure me. He just said, fine. The next 2 days were silent, as if someone had turned down the volume on my life. Then came the first shock. My sister texted me from an unknown number. She was clearly upset. She was telling me about the old emergency savings account we shared. I couldn't access it. She said it had disappeared. What I didn't know was that, a few days earlier, I had gone to the bank and closed it. That account had been created, in theory, to help each other out in tough times. But, in practice, I was the only one who contributed any money. And the only one who used it was me, too, for them. The balance, a little less than $19,000, was now in a private account in my name. I didn't touch it. Not yet. I just wanted to keep it out of his reach. Then the emails started. My mother wrote me a long message, saying she was confused and that my attitude hurt her. She didn't understand why I was acting so coldly. She reminded me that we were family, that Alvaro and Clara were busy, that birthdays after a certain age didn't matter so much. I didn't answer him. I read that sentence aloud several times. Then I looked at the crayon card my daughter had left on my desk. It asked why Grandpa hadn't come to sing with them. My children did remember. My children were concerned. My family didn't forget my birthday. She simply didn't think it mattered. Unless they needed something from me. In those moments, they remembered who I was. But I no longer wanted to be useful to those who treated me like a tool. Something broke inside me. Something definitive. He wasn't angry. He was determined. And they were about to find out what happens when the quietest one decides to make some noise. The party was scheduled for Saturday. I wasn't invited, but I knew all the details thanks to my sister's constant chatter on social media. She posted a countdown, tagged the caterer, and even showed off the decorations she was working on until the early hours of the morning. It's not like remembering his brother's birthday took that much effort. Is it? They called the event Baby Base at the cabin. I guess Alvaro and Clara think they're influencers now. He even posted a selfie on the terrace I built with the caption, "Created for moments like this blue heart dot." It didn't tag me. Of course not. What no one knew was that he still owned part of the property. And he still had the key. But he wasn't about to show up in the middle of the event like some vengeful movie character. That would be too obvious. And I wasn't looking for scandals. I wanted something surgical. Something they felt but couldn't report without looking ridiculous. So on Friday afternoon, I made some calls. First, I spoke with the property manager for the area. I informed him that the cabin would be unavailable that weekend due to legal issues regarding co-ownership. No rentals or events. It's a matter of liability. He knew me. I hired him to manage our stays when we weren't there. He hesitated a bit, but agreed to block her. Then I called the county to file a request for a temporary injunction to prevent the use of the property for events. Just a little red tape to make things difficult for them. I also called to have the water shut off for maintenance. And the gas company received another notification. Alleged obstruction in the line. I did all of this from the couch while watching my son build a Lego spaceship. Saturday, 10:42 a.m. My phone vibrated. New number again. Message from my sister. "Why is the gate closed? The guests are arriving. Was it you?" I didn't reply. Another message. "You can't be serious. The catering is on its way. Some of them are coming from 3 hours away. Clara is crying." I didn't reply either. An hour later, my mother texted me. This time, no beating around the bush or whining. Straight to the point. "Mateo, fix this now. It's a special day for Alvaro. Please be the adult here." That phrase hit me in a different way, because that's what I had been for years. The one who drove 4 hours to help Dad move a couch. The one who paid the deductible when Alvaro crashed Mom's car. The one who always said yes. The same one who was later ignored when it wasn't convenient to remember him. I saw their stories later. The event was hastily moved to my parents' backyard. No mountain view. No fancy table with gourmet snacks. Just mismatched chairs and a folding table piled high with supermarket snacks. Alvaro didn't look happy. Clara didn't smile once. My sister posted a story. It didn't go as planned. But we did it, flexed biceps of stars. Nobody mentioned me. On Monday, my father called me. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. His tone sounded different. Tired. He said we needed to talk. I didn't answer. Then, that Wednesday morning, my mother showed up unannounced at my door with a container of banana bread. As if that was going to solve anything. It wasn't even homemade. It smelled like supermarket bread. I didn't invite her in. I went outside and closed the door behind me. It started with small talk. The weather, the grass, the flowers in the garden. I let her talk. Sooner or later, she was going to address what had really brought her there. She did so cautiously, as if she were afraid to admit it. "It wasn't our intention to forget your birthday," he said. Not a sorry, not a sincere apology, just that it wasn't intentional. I replied that I wasn't upset about the birthday anymore, because that was just a symptom. The real problem was deeper. The constant feeling of being ignored, except when they needed me. He tried to justify it by saying that Alvaro and Clara had been overwhelmed, that no one meant to hurt me. So I asked her when was the last time someone in our family called me just to check on me. Not to ask for favors or help or money, just out of genuine concern. She didn't know what to say. She stared at her shoes. Then she asked me if it was true that I had ordered the water and gas to be cut off at the cabin, as Alvaro claimed. I told her yes, I had done it. She said Alvaro was furious, that Clara had burst into tears when the guests arrived with gifts and there wasn't even anywhere to sit, that they all ended up crammed together in her backyard. Embarrassed. That was the goal, I told him. He made a face like I'd slapped him. Then I asked him why it's only when I get fed up and do something that everyone suddenly notices I exist. I asked him how much longer they expected me to carry the burden of responsibility while Alvaro continued to be applauded for doing the bare minimum. He tried to defend him again. He said he was simply different, that he didn't know how to handle money, that life had been harder for him. I asked her what was so easy about raising 3 children on a single income while helping pay for her family vacation. I asked her what had been easy about covering my father's dental surgery when his insurance wouldn't. I told her the only difference was that I never expected others to solve my problems. Then he changed his strategy. Your children shouldn't grow up without their grandparents, he said. They're already growing up without them, I replied. I told her that birthdays passed without a single card or call, that my youngest son had asked me if Uncle Alvaro didn't love us. That left her speechless for a good while. Then he asked me if I really planned to end the relationship. I explained that I wasn't cutting ties. I was simply setting new conditions. If they wanted us to stay in touch, it would be under different rules. No more comfortable silences, no more unpaid work, no more assuming I'd always say yes. I told him I was willing to talk, but I wasn't going to keep being anyone's backup. He left without saying much. And yes, she took the banana bread with her. 2 days later, my father showed up. I wasn't expecting much. All her life she had pretended not to see what bothered her. But that afternoon she sat in my kitchen for more than an hour. She didn't lecture me. She didn't correct me. He listened. He asked questions, really. And then he said something I never thought I'd hear from him. You were right. We weren't fair to you. We let Alvaro do whatever he wanted because it was easier than dealing with his tantrums. And we relied on you because we knew you would never deny us. He didn't ask me to forgive him. He just said he was sorry. That same night, my sister texted me. She wanted us to talk. We met the next day. She cried, but not dramatically, more out of shame. She said that seeing me drift away made her realize how much she took for granted. She confessed that she couldn't remember the last time she'd sincerely asked me about my life. They were beginning to understand. All of them except Alvaro. He sent a single message to the family group chat. This is ridiculous. Mateo is acting like he was abused. Madure, you're not a victim. That was it. A long sentence disguised as strength. But then something unexpected happened. My mother, the same one who always told me to let things go whenever Alvaro used me, responded in the group chat. Enough, Alvaro. Just stop. Then my father wrote, You're the one who needs to grow up. And then my sister wrote, I'm ashamed of this. You owe Mateo an apology. Alvaro didn't respond. He just left the group. Now everyone wants to start over. They're making an effort, I'll give them that. But I'm not the same anymore. Something inside me broke and was rebuilt in a different way. I don't want to go back to being who I was. And I can't. We see each other occasionally. Sunday dinners, brief visits. They ask me real questions. They don't ask me for money. But I don't feel like we're any closer. What I feel is freedom. Because for the first time, I know they see me as someone who said no. It wasn't long before Alvaro reappeared. About a month after the baby sewer disaster, my parents invited us all over for dinner. They said it was just a simple meal. No speeches, no forced conversations. They just wanted to try one more time to be a family. My wife had her doubts, and I wasn't entirely convinced, but I agreed. That night we arrived at my parents' house. And as soon as we pulled into the driveway, the first thing we saw was Alvaro's truck parked outside. He still had the dent in his backside from that time he crashed into a lamppost and said it was the curb's fault. Clara wasn't with him. I guess she was quicker than the rest to figure things out. Dinner began quietly. My mother had prepared roast beef. My father, surprisingly, helped set the table, something he never did. They tried to have a calm conversation. My sister mentioned that she might get a promotion, and my mother mentioned a Netflix series she thought we'd like. No one brought up the past. Nothing about the cabin. Nothing awkward. Until Alvaro spoke. Are you done with this charade of treating him like he's a hero? She said, pointing at me with her fork. The atmosphere froze. Come on, please. She's furious. She sabotaged my baby shower, cut off all contact. And now we have to act like she's Gandhi. No one responded. He was smiling, thinking he'd said something clever, as if he'd just exposed a collective lie. I looked at my father, but he didn't say a word. He just kept chewing as if nothing had happened. Alvaro continued. He had that tone of his, a mixture of sarcasm and resentment, convinced that he was the only one who saw the truth. He said that I had always thought myself superior because I had a job with benefits, because I didn't ruin my credit history. That didn't make me any better, just boring. A man with the heart of a calculator. Then my mother stood up. I thought he would leave, but he didn't. He looked him straight in the eye and said firmly, "Sit down and be quiet." He laughed, thinking it was a joke. But when he saw her expression, he realized she was serious. She looked at everyone at the table. "We let him carry the whole burden," he said. "We gave him that responsibility and never thanked him. We treated him as if it were his obligation." Alvaro tried to interrupt, but this time it was my father who spoke. "You were never the one who was supposed to support us," he told me. "But you did, and when you got fed up, we blamed you for the mess. That was our mistake." There was a long silence. My children were in the living room watching a movie, oblivious to the fact that dinner had turned into a kind of therapy session. Alvaro spoke again, this time more softly. "Maybe he's exaggerating." No one answered. He looked around, searching for support. He found none. Finally, she got up, took her plate to the sink, and left without saying goodbye, muttering that she had things to do. The rest of the night was different. Not perfect, but real. My sister asked about my wife's job. My mother told my children she had missed them. And my father, instead of asking me for a favor, asked if I wanted to help him with the garage door next weekend. Not with the attitude of someone seeking help, but with that of someone who wanted to spend time with me. We left shortly before 9. On the way back, my wife asked me how I was feeling. I told her it was strange. It's like returning to a familiar house where everything is in its place, but the furniture has been moved. He asked me if I thought the change would last. I told him I didn't know, but that I wasn't afraid to walk away again if it didn't. Because Alvaro was wrong. I didn't throw a tantrum. I told the truth. And this time they listened to me. Something definitely changed after that night. The old dynamic where I gave and they took was over. It wasn't that they'd suddenly become saints, but for the first time in many years, I didn't feel like they were just putting up with me because I was useful. We started seeing each other occasionally. Brief dinners, quick visits. Nobody asked for favors. Money wasn't discussed. My mother only sent messages to ask how we were doing. My sister, for the first time, sent my daughter a birthday card. And my father even came to help me install a new heater. He came with tools, not just advice. Alvaro, on the other hand, disappeared. He continued posting motivational quotes and blurry selfies from the gym on social media, as if nothing was bothering him. But according to Clara's cousin, they were having problems. He borrowed money from his in-laws and didn't pay it back. He lost a freelance job for not delivering on time and blamed it on bad vibes. Typical of him. I didn't miss him. And the most telling thing was that nobody else did. In August, the next test arrived. My sister was organizing a family barbecue. She wanted to have it at the cabin. I hesitated when she mentioned it. Since the baby shower disaster, no one had been back there. But she was careful with her words. She asked me if it was okay with me. He even suggested we go together to fix it up. I told him I'd think about it. My wife wasn't convinced at first. I suspected it might be a trap. But I explained that I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for me. That cabin symbolized everything. It was where I'd been used the most. I needed to go back with different eyes. So we went that weekend. Just my sister and me. No kids, no noise. The place was a mess. The deck was warped by snow. The pipes were clogged. The backyard looked like a jungle. But for once, she actually helped. We cleaned, tidied, and repaired. We didn't talk much about the past. But as we sat down on the stairs to rest, she asked me in a low voice, "Do you think you'll ever forgive us?" I replied that it wasn't about forgiveness, that I didn't harbor hatred, only boundaries. I wasn't going to offer free access anymore. If they wanted to enter my life, they would have to do it through the front door. No shortcuts. No sneaking in through my calendar, my bank account, or my conscience. He nodded. He told me it was fair. We had the barbecue 2 weeks later. Everyone came except Alvaro. The food was good. The children ran around everywhere. My father stood in front of the grill, but he didn't try to fix anything. My mother asked me about my job, not about what I could do for others. It was quiet. At one point, my son asked why Uncle Alvaro wasn't there. My father answered before I could. Sometimes people need more time to mature. And my son, with that brutal honesty that children have, said, "But he's already old." We all laughed, even my mother. That night, my sister handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $3,000. She told me it was her share of what she had invested in the cabin. It wasn't everything he owed me, but it was a start. He said he wanted to fix things one step at a time, and I believed him. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I belonged to a broken family. I felt like I was in one that was trying to rebuild itself. But I wasn't going to carry that old burden again. Now, I set the conditions. The plan to celebrate Thanksgiving was my mother's. She said it as if it were a mission. A big family meal to show we were whole again. He called it the reset. He said it would be good for the kids. It was time to close that chapter. I didn't see it that way, but I didn't object either. I wanted to see if anything had really changed, or if it was just a new version of the same game. Alvaro was also invited. My father mentioned it to me on the phone. He said he would attend, as long as everyone behaved normally. Of course, according to Alvaro, it's normal for everything to revolve around him without him making any effort to reciprocate. He showed up 20 minutes late, wearing a new shirt that still had the tags on. He brought a bottle of cheap wine as if it were a grand gesture. He didn't greet my wife or me. He just walked in as if nothing was wrong and told my mother he hadn't eaten all day because Clara was on one of those weird diets again. Clara didn't come with him, and I didn't ask why. From the very beginning, the dinner had an awkward atmosphere. My mother was trying too hard to pretend everything was normal. My sister barely spoke. My father, for his part, would change the subject as soon as the silence threatened to settle in. And Alvaro, as if nothing were amiss, acted with complete naturalness. He asked my children about school, laughed with my wife as if he hadn't made comments, and bared his teeth the last time we met. Halfway through dinner, he raised his glass and said, "I think it's time to leave the past behind." Everyone froze. My sister looked down at her plate. My mother forced a smile, and my father didn't even move. I replied calmly, "You have the right to let go of whatever you've been carrying." "I already did," he said, rolling his eyes. Here we go again. And there was the real Alvaro, the one who can't stand not being the center of attention. "You love this victim act, don't you? Now you've got everyone on your side. It must feel amazing." Without even looking at him, I kept cutting the turkey. What feels good is not having to justify myself to anyone. He laughed, but that laugh sounded fake. "Do you think you're better than us?" I snapped. My father put his fork down on his plate. "Alvaro, that's enough." But he persisted. "No, let's call it what it is. Everyone just got tired of me. And now Mateo is the model son just because he dared to block everyone." My mother stood up, visibly disappointed. This meeting was meant to bring us together, not for this. Alvaro shrugged. "Well, here we are. Look at us." Nobody said anything. He waited, as if he expected someone to defend him. No one did. He pushed his chair back and left without saying goodbye, without even taking his coat. We sat there for a few more minutes. My daughter asked softly if I was coming back. "Not tonight," my mother replied. After washing the dishes and settling the sleeping children in the car, my father walked us to the door. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I thought I'd understand this time." I shook my head. He doesn't want to understand. He just wants everything his way. My father nodded slowly. "I suppose he's going to have to learn it the hard way." "I'm not going to be his teacher anymore," I replied. He said nothing more. That night, back home, I lingered in the garage after everyone had gone to bed. I thought about dinner, the silence, and the half-full glass of wine still on the table. That meeting had been the closest thing to a reconciliation, and yet it wasn't. Because some stories don't have a happy ending, nor do they end with everyone embracing. Some people are left behind. Others approach only to see how far they can push your boundaries again. And there are families that don't need fixing. They just need redefining themselves. I no longer felt anger, nor resentment. I had simply reached the end. The following week, my mother sent Thanksgiving photos. My father texted me asking if we had time for coffee. My sister messaged me asking if my youngest son liked Lego, because she'd seen an interesting set on sale. Life went on. But Alvaro was left out of the picture. And for the first time, nobody asked me to bring him back. It wasn't a happy ending, just a sincere one. And for me, that was enough. Update. I thought all the family drama was behind us, but it was just a pause. After that Thanksgiving disaster, things seemed to stabilize. My parents started visiting more often, mostly to spend time with the children. My sister and I even began to rebuild something that seemed lost. I finally had some mental space to breathe. Until last week, while I was working, I received a call from an unknown number. I don't usually answer, but this time I did. She was a woman named Claire, from a notary services company. Her tone was friendly but firm. She only had a few quick questions about the land transfer documents for the cabin. What transfer documents? I asked, puzzled. Your name appears on the original co-ownership agreement. We just need your authorization to proceed with the complete transfer to Alvaro Mallister. I hung up without raising my voice and asked them to send everything by mail. 10 minutes later, the documents were in my inbox. Upon reviewing them, I realized that Alvaro had submitted forged papers, claiming that I was ceding my share of the land. He had even forged my signature. He didn't even try to cover it up. I immediately called the office and explained the situation. They stopped the process immediately. Legal red flags were raised everywhere. I didn't tell my family anything right away. The next day, however, I showed up unannounced at my parents' house. I sat down with my father and handed him the printed documents. He read the first page and his face changed. "My God," she murmured. "We had no idea." When my mother found out, she put her hands to her face. He called my sister right in front of me, and the news spread like wildfire. That same night, Alvaro called me from a blocked number. He left a voicemail saying I was exaggerating, that it was all a misunderstanding with the paperwork, that he was going to let me know. But since I wasn't using the cabin, he assumed I didn't care. I forwarded the audio to my lawyer. Now there's a restraining order pending, a fraud complaint, and the family is completely silent, as if they're all walking on thin ice. But here's the irony. Since that incident, offers for the cabin started coming in. An acquaintance of an acquaintance had been there years before and had always wanted to buy it. He made a cash offer, for much more than I ever thought it was worth. I accepted. We'll close the deal next month. I'll leave that place with more than I invested, and above all, without any emotional baggage. My parents were surprised. My mother cried. My father said he wished things had been different, but they respected my decision. Even my sister said she was proud of me. Since then, I haven't heard from Alvaro again. And frankly, I don't care to. If he reappears, it will be because he found someone else who will tolerate him or because he stayed. What surprised me most was that my children didn't mention his absence. They don't miss him, they don't ask about him. Instead, they talk about their grandparents with enthusiasm. They want to know when they'll visit us again, if Megan can stay and play with them, if they can keep building things in the garage with Grandpa. And that, more than anything else, confirmed what I needed to know. The concept of family isn't based on blood ties, but on presence, respect, and consistency. Things aren't perfect today, but they're stable. There's no need to force empty reconciliations or pretend everything fits together. What we have now is authentic. And for the first time in a long time, I feel at peace with it. There's no moral to the story, no sugar-coated ending. There's only one clear decision, to move on without dragging along what never wanted to stay. And that's enough.